The Great Pyramid of Giza is off from true north by about 3.5 arc minutes. That is 1/20th of a single degree. 4,500 years of settling sand, earthquakes and erosion, and it is still more precisely oriented than most buildings going up in your city this year. Now here is the part that should stop you. To point a building at true north, you need something in the sky to point at. Today, we have a star almost exactly over the pole, Polaris. You find it, you drop a line, you have north. In 2500 BC, that star was not there. The Earth wobbles. Over thousands of years, the pole traces a slow circle across the sky, and in the age of the pyramid builders, it was pointing at an empty patch of darkness. No marker, no anchor, nothing to aim at. 6 million tons of limestone, aligned to a point in the sky where there was nothing to see. No compass, no telescope, no lens had been invented anywhere on Earth. So how did they find it? Today we're traveling to the night sky over ancient Egypt, and what we find there breaks every rule you know. Start earlier than you expect. Not with the pyramids, with a dry lake bed in the Sahara, 200 kilometers west of the Nile. Nabta Playa. Today it is nothing. Cracked ground, wind, sand to the horizon. But 7,000 years ago, this was grassland, fed by monsoon rains, and people came here every year with their cattle. And they left stones. A ring of sandstone slabs, 4 meters across. 2 pairs of uprights form gaps, and one of those gaps points directly at the sunrise on the summer solstice, which in that place and that era was the day the rains came. The circle dates to around 4,800 BC. Archaeologists Fred Wendorf and J. McKim Malville have argued it may be the oldest astronomical structure ever found. That is roughly 2,000 years before the first stones were raised at Stonehenge, before Egypt was Egypt, before writing, before the pharaohs. People in the desert were already watching where the sun came up and building something permanent to remember it. The tradition the pyramid builders inherited was already thousands of years old when they inherited it. Now follow the water. Every year the Nile flooded. The flood was everything. It carried the black silt that made farming possible in a desert. Miss the timing and you lose the year. But the flood does not arrive on a fixed date you can simply count to. So the Egyptians found a clock in the sky. Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. For about 70 days a year, Sirius is invisible, lost in the glare of the sun. Then, one morning, it reappears. A brief flash on the eastern horizon just before dawn, and then daylight swallows it again. That morning is called the Heliacal Rising, and in ancient Egypt, that reappearance fell almost exactly at the start of the Nile flood. So they built their entire year on it. The return of one star marked New Year's Day. From that single observation, they derived a calendar of 365 days. Think about what that requires. Not one clever person looking up once. Generations of people watching the same horizon at the same hour, writing down what they saw and passing the record forward until the pattern emerged from the noise. That is not mysticism. That is data collection. They kept watching, and they noticed something else. Most stars rise in the east, cross the sky, and set in the west. They appear, they travel, they die. But one group never does. Close to the celestial pole, stars trace tight circles and never touch the horizon. They never rise, they never set. They simply turn forever around a fixed point. The Egyptians called them the imperishable stars, and this is where the astronomy becomes something else, because they took that observation and made it the foundation of what happens after you die. The dead pharaoh does not go into the ground. He goes north, to the part of the sky that does not die. Look at the Great Pyramid, and you can see the idea built into stone. Narrow shafts run out from the burial chambers at precise angles. The northern shaft points toward the region where Thuban circled the pole. The southern shaft points toward Orion's belt, toward Alnitak, which the Egyptians identified with Osiris, the god of the dead and of rebirth. The tomb was not a container, it was aimed. They went further. They cut up the night. Egyptian astronomers picked 36 stars and star groups spaced around the sky so that a new one rose roughly every 40 minutes through the night. We call them the decans. Watch which decan is rising and you know what time it is. A clock made of stars. Because of how the light works, 12 of them were usable across a full night, 12 divisions of darkness. The Egyptians matched it with 12 divisions of daylight, 12 plus 12. That is where your 24-hour day comes from. Not from Greece, not from Rome, not from any modern committee. From Egyptian priests timing the night by which star cleared the horizon next. You used their system this morning. You will use it tonight. And then, around 1350 BC, one pharaoh took it somewhere nobody expected. Akhenaten looked at the sky and made a decision that has no real precedent anywhere in the ancient world. He shut down the temples. He erased the old gods, and he declared that there was one, the Aten, the disk of the sun itself. Not a god who lives in the sun, the sun. You can see it carved at Amarna. The disk high in the frame, with long rays coming down, and each ray ends in a human hand, reaching down, touching the royal family, holding out the sign of life. Egypt did not accept it. After his death, the temples reopened, his name was chiseled off the monuments, and the experiment was buried for 3,000 years. But for a single reign, an entire civilization was told that everything alive is powered by one object in the sky. They were not wrong. So why does a television channel need aliens to explain any of this? Because the real answer is harder to sit with. There was no shortcut, no lost technology, no visitors. There were people, standing on flat roofs night after night, holding a plumb line, marking a horizon, and handing what they found to their children. For thousands of years. Long enough for the sky to slowly shift under their instruments, and long enough for them to notice it shifting. We invented ancient astronauts because we could not accept the alternative, that they were simply this good. Tonight, when the sky goes dark, look up. It is the same sky. Slightly turned, a few stars moved, but the same one. They were looking at it 4,500 years ago. And in some ways, they were paying closer attention than we are. Thank you for watching to the end. If you want to keep exploring the universe with us, subscribe to Cosmic Lab TV. There is a new journey waiting.